Alright, welcome back for part 5 of the Free Folks painting of a Song of Ice and Fire, and this video will be the Mammoth, or Mammoths if you're painting both of them. I ended up just painting one so far. I have a second one to go. Don't know if I'm going to keep the same color scheme, but anyways, what we did is you saw the Zenithal highlight, you saw all the priming and all that in the other videos. Now we're moving on to a little bit of dry brush of deep gray. Just to give this mammoth a little bit of gray fur to him, a little bit of like a wintry style mammoth or whatever, but all that seems to like disappear later on once I put some washes on in that, and it just goes away for some reason. Now I'm preparing all the leather. You might have seen that short video on how to make leather pouches and stuff. Putting warrior skin on all the leather parts just to tie back all together, and also give like a base coat for the nooks and crannies to do more like a shading, actually, more than anything else, because then when I do the highlights and stuff like that and come back and paint them, it's got a nice base coat to work with it. Again, I want to thank you guys for becoming members or patrons, for supporting my crazy hobby. Again, thank you so much. If you guys want to see other specific stuff that would like to be just for you guys, do comment down below, and let me know what you guys would like to see as members or as patrons, and yeah, I could try and make that all happen for you guys, because it's very much appreciated. Alright, moving on to some bootstrap brown now. Again, now we're doing just some nice little highlighting. What I did is I added a little bit of stabilizer to it to water it down a bit, so that whenever you paint this, it sort of like blends right into the other paints. It's like a glaze almost. You're just slowly trying to get that on there. And I noticed that while using Warpaints Fanatic now, as you paint layers, they all seem to blend in together. They all seem to work really well together and get everything done nicely. And it's great when you're working on the Warpaints Fanatics. Anyways, let's come back to the Mammoth here. I mean, this is awesome. You get to play a miniatures game where there's a freaking elephant. I know there's some probably in Lord of the Rings. I think the Mumakil are there. I don't know if like Old World Warhammer has any. I didn't see anything like this. Well, I mean, there's tons of big miniatures out there that are really cool. But I was like, a mammoth, and I think I mentioned this in the other videos, is that whenever it falls over, it actually causes damage to the unit that was attacking it. So whenever it's dead, like whenever it's been destroyed, it causes damage, which is kind of cool. Like it just topples over and lands on people. And it can't control objectives though in the game, so that's one issue. But it's a little scary, intimidating to be able to bring this thing forward quickly to try and trample some of the ranks and some of the other units out there on the table. So if you haven't played A Song of Ice and Fire, it's actually a really good game. I've got the Free Folks and the Night's Watch, which I'm going to paint up eventually. I got so much stuff to paint, guys, you have no idea, and I keep going back and forth. I really want to finish Marvel Zombies for the world. Anyways, but coming back to A Song of Ice and Fire, so there's 2 in this pack. It is quite expensive as a tabletop game, but I ended up getting a whole lot of the stuff on sale liquidation from other stores because it's just not selling anymore, this game, that much, but it seems to be coming back in popularity. So anyways, we already did some more highlights there, as you saw, on all the straps, and now we're doing all the bones and tusks and all that stuff with the Tomb King Tan. Again, the bottle picture is different than what you see when you're holding it in your hands, okay? Just letting you know that the little picture that's popping up is very different. It's not at all the same. Really look at the bottle, and sometimes they are a bit off. But it generally gives you what you want for the areas that you want to paint. And this was a good one I found. It's not like right away the bone color. You know, there is skeleton bone, which I will put on as a highlight. But I just found it really fun to use a different kind of color as a base color for bones and for their tusks and that. Now again, later the wash I put on, or the shade I should say, was a little too dark. I should have went a little bit lighter because I really wanted these tusks to pop. I could have came back and did some dry brushing on the tusks, but you'll see as we go along here. This is a pretty long video. I like talking through them. I hope you guys like hearing my voice, and I hope you're enjoying watching all these painting guys for A Song of Ice and Fire. Again, thank you for becoming a member. Thank you for becoming a patron. Hope you're enjoying the videos. Hope you're enjoying the content you guys get to see. Eventually, there's going to be some other stuff coming up on the channel as well for you guys, so keep an eye out for that. As you can see now, I'm just going, oh, actually, I'm not using skeleton bone. I'm using ancient stone, which is in the same flexible triad of paints in the war paints range, but just doing something different. All right, now we're using buffed hide just for the spears here. There's not going to be much more to do with that. Actually, well, I was like, there's some little letter parts I completely forgot about here and there. So I said, you know what, it's going to be kind of cool. It'll match up, and then when shade comes in, it'll do whatever. And I'm doing like all these little top buttons or like pieces on the straps. I don't think they're metallic, these things. So I was just like, all right, let's put it on there. It's buffed hide, you know, it's a hide, it's leather, it's skin. Let's put them on there. And then some uniform gray for the tips of the spears. Also, I'm sort of like not getting in all the nooks and crannies of it just to keep some of the darker areas. So, and then I was like, okay, Mocha's skin should be a lot darker. This one I was a little surprised with. This is one of the bottles where I found was a bit odd. It should have been more darker brown, in my opinion. This is extremely light. And I'm putting this like for his feet and the inside part of the trunk, his eyes, just to differentiate the skin from the fur. And I was just like, okay, this is very bright as a paint. Anyway, so the shade will take care of it again later on, but it's just like, this was one of the bottles where I was like a little miffed about, because I'm like, well, that's not exactly what I was looking for, but I went along with it anyways. I mean, you start painting, right? You could say, oops, I'm going to stop and then change color, but you know, you're already into it. You're like, ah, whatever, I'll just get it done and make it work, somehow make it work. And it does in the end, you know, there's not a big issue there. All right, then I come in with a onyx skin and come back and do a very, very, very dry brush on top of everything again, just to keep some of the gray underneath, but then to highlight some of the fur, make it look nice. I should have just left it like that. I will be honest, the shading later on the skin, on the fur I should say, was not necessary. The shading on everything else, however, was necessary in my opinion. I'm coming to deep gray. I think I come back to deep gray, to be honest. I think that's what I used on the oh no, I don't remember. Anyways, a little bit of armor here, brazen copper. It's a speed paint. I kind of like the speed paints whenever you're using sort of zenithal or slap chop or whatever. The metallics work pretty good, but they don't have the whole shading effect, and I didn't really want a huge shading effect here. And then I realized, okay, well, I could have used another speed paint metallic on the chains here, but I ended up using gunmetal on the chains, and I'm gonna make a nice little fix up on the chains after as well. And then I used some prairie ochre. Now this is a completely different color than the picture as well. The prairie ochre, and I believe the bottle is actually okay. It looks like a dark tannish kind of color, brownish, grayish. I don't know how to even say that. Anyways, and it worked out good for those little ropes that he had on the side of them there. And I'm using, as you can see, some broadsword silver speed paint on some more metallic parts. And then I'm using some of the new fresh rust, just dabbing it on top of those chains. Now here is where you might say, boy, you're gonna mess up this entire thing. Well, first I'm doing like the pouches, the leather, with Agrax Earthshade. I want to blend it all back in together, have it nice, have the shading done. And then I was like, oops, I hit a tusk, and I'm like, well, I might as well do the tusk now. And that's where I noticed it was very dark for it. And I was like, whoops, maybe I shouldn't have touched that. So I was like, oh, I'll keep doing the skin and doing everything else. But I didn't do like the fur yet. The fur's gonna be a different shade. But then I started realizing, I was like, oh, I should have left it as it is with the dry brushing and the zenithal, no shading. But you know what? It ends up looking really good. You know, sometimes you make mistakes when you paint, but whenever I do the second one, I don't know if I'm going to change the color scheme or not of the mammoth itself. Maybe I'm going to go like a grayish mammoth instead of a brown one, so it'll be a little different. It'll be interesting, and plus it'll give you, you know, the fact that you're using two different units on the table of mammoths. You have to have, you know, a tracker of which one went and all that. So I mean, I have the flags there that I got 3D printed, but anyway, so as you can see now, I'm going around again with the Agrax Earthshade, getting some of the stuff, and then I come in with Reiklin Flesh Shade. I'm like, ah, okay, let's put this all over the fur. It kind of works, but it's got a pinkish hue to it, right? And it really showed on the brown and the gray I found. Like it worked. It kept some of that gray, some of that lighter brown that I put as the dry brushing. It worked. But anyways, that's the Mammoth, folks. Thanks again for watching, and this is to be continued. We'll see you in part 6.